Hello and welcome to this Getting Started with Microsoft Teams and Office 365 Groups Administration course. My name is Vlad Catrinescu and I will be your instructor for this course. In this module, we will learn the basics of Microsoft Teams administration. We'll first start by learning the basic Microsoft Teams operations such as creating from scratch or adding teams to an existing resource, as well as archiving and deleting teams. We will then learn how to manage Microsoft Teams membership, whether for the team or for the private channel inside of the team, and we will then learn how to manage channels inside of our teams, and finally, how to manage the team and channel level settings. In this module again, we will only stick to the team owner user interface and will not go in PowerShell or the admin centers. So we can really master what each setting does in Microsoft Teams, what are the impacts, and this will make it a lot more easier once we go into the admin centers in the next modules of this course. Let's start with the basic Microsoft Team operations, starting with creation. Creating Microsoft Teams can be done directly from the Microsoft Teams user interface, as well as, of course, admin tools such as the admin centers or PowerShell. When you create a team from the Microsoft Teams interface, you have three options to create a team. First one is creating from an existing Office 365 group, which basically adds a team to an Office 365 group, and all of the group settings will be inherited, so same membership, visibility, and so on. The next option is create from an existing team. What this does is copies an existing Office 365 group, including the team, and you can choose what settings you want to keep in the copy. So do you want to have the same settings, the same members, and so on. And the last option is building a team from scratch, which basically builds a brand new Office 365 group with, of course, Microsoft Teams attached to it. Let's start by going in detail with building a team from scratch. When you create a team from scratch, first thing it will ask you is what kind of team will this be? You have three options, first one being private team. Private teams can only be joined if the team owner adds somebody to them. Next one is public teams. Public teams are visible to everybody from the team's gallery, and you can join them without getting approval from the team owner. If we look in the backend, what this will do is it will create either a private Office 365 group or a public Office 365 group. And the last option is org-wide teams, where basically everybody in the organization is automatically added to that Microsoft team. The first two are really straightforward, but let's talk a bit more about org-wide teams. Org-wide teams provide an automatic way for everybody in an organization to be part of a single team for collaboration. With org-wide teams, global admins can easily create a public team that pulls in every user in the organization and keeps the membership up to date with Active Directory as users join and leave the organization. Only global administrators can create org-wide teams, and currently an org-wide team is limited to organizations with no more than 5,000 users, and there's also a limit of 5 org-wide teams per tenant. If those requirements are met, global admins will see the option to create an org-wide team when they select the Build a Team from Scratch in the team's creation process. Also remember that Linux change, especially with a product that's fairly young like Microsoft Teams, so make sure you always double check the Linux and specification for Microsoft Teams on the Microsoft official documentation to see what the limits are at the time of listening to this course. Just to lightly touch on membership here, as we're going to have a more dedicated section to it, when an org-wide team is created, all global admins are added as team owners, and all active users are added as team members. Unlicensed users are also added to the team, and the first time an unlicensed user signs into the team, the user is assigned a Microsoft Teams Commercial Cloud Trial license. There are some types of accounts that will not be added, and those are accounts that are blocked from sign-in, guest users, root or equipment accounts, and accounts backed by a shared mailbox. Now that we have seen the theory, let's go to the lab and see how we can create the team from scratch. I am now in the lab environment and I have opened up the Microsoft Teams app over here. So let's go and create a team. I'll click on join or create a team over here, and here I will click on create a team. The first thing it asks me is, do I want to build a team from scratch or create from an existing Office 365 group or team? In this demo, we're really going to focus on building a team from scratch. Then I will have the three options that we talked about inside the slides, which are private, public, or organization-wide. Remember that only global admins can create org-wide teams. To show you this, I have logged in the browser here as Ben King. If you remember Ben King from a few modules ago, this is the user that we have assigned the team's administrator role as well as the group's admin. So in theory, Ben would have full control over the team's service. However, since it's actually limited to global admins, Ben does not see the organization-wide option. So really, the org-wide option is only limited to global admins. Let's start with private and we'll get back to org-wide afterwards. Let's give it a team name and let's call it IT Systems Refresh. Let's go into the description and say collaboration group for the IT Systems Refresh here, and then we'll click on create. As you can see, it looks just a bit weird because I'm recording on quite a low resolution, so that's why I have to zoom in and out and scroll a bit. You don't usually get this experience on a normal higher resolution. Now let me click on create. It will take just a few seconds and it got created. I can start adding members here. So let me add John Smith and let's add Jeff Collins as well. Click on add. It will take a few seconds to add them. I can even promote John Smith to an owner, let's say. And now I will click on close and we are ready to go for this team. Now let's also create an organization-wide team. I'll go into the same space for create team, build a team from scratch, organization-wide, and let's leave it at Global Support each of the people. If not, we can really change the name so we can call it the Microsoft 365 Adoption, for example, and let's click on create. It will not really ask me any other questions about the membership or like that because remember, it's managed automatically. Also, you'll see at the top that here it says organization-wide. So if I go into the IT system refresh, here it just says team, whereas for the org-wide team, I actually have a different text at the top. If I go back to Teams as Ben King, let me close this, you see I actually have a notification that Vlad added you to Microsoft 365 user adoption, as well as 42 other people. So really, all the membership is done, all the membership got added. So if I go to manage team over here, you'll see that I have a warning. Team members will automatically be added and removed to reflect your Active Directory. And all of the global admins inside my tenant, so the Flow Service account, Vlad admin, Drew Madelon, Jeff Collins, and a few others got added as owners. Now this is it for this demo. We have really looked at how to create both a private team as well as an organization-wide team from scratch, and we have looked at the user experience for both, including how the organization-wide is only shown to global administrators and they're the only ones that can create it. Now that we have seen how to create a team from scratch, let's go back in the slides and see how we can add a team to an existing resource. Next up, let's learn how we can add a team to an existing resource. When you create a team, one of the options was to create from an existing Office 365 group. In order to see your group there, you need to be an Office 365 group owner to add the team to the group. You can also only add one Microsoft team per Office 365 group, and once you add the Microsoft team, you cannot remove it. The team will have the same name, privacy, and members as the Office 365 group. Current limitations are again not available for groups that have more than 5,000 members, because that's the current limit for teams, and another one is that groups created through Yammer cannot be converted to a team. You might also see a small notice that every group owner will see in SharePoint for Teams, kind of telling you like, hey, you don't have a team for this group, so click here to create it. But be aware that when you click on that Create a Team button, it's a one-click creation with no confirmation, so you click it, and within a few seconds, it will give you the success message that it has been created. As an administrator, you can disable that SharePoint Online reminder on a per site basis, and there's no tenant level config to actually disable it, but you can have a scheduled task running if you want to disable it on new sites. In order to disable it, you need to have the SharePoint Online PnP PowerShell module, and we won't cover it in this course as it's been covered in the Configuring and Managing SharePoint Online course on Pluralsight. There are already a few scripts provided by both Microsoft Fast Track open source software on GitHub, as well as simpler versions by the community, and I have added a link to an amazing one by Microsoft MVP Trevor Seward. Now that we have seen the theory, let's go in the lab environment and see how we can add a Microsoft team to an existing Office 365 group, as well as the team's reminder in SharePoint Online. We are now in the lab environment, so let me open up Teams over here, and I'm back on the Join or Create a Team page. So let's start by adding a team to an existing Office 365 group. So I'll go create a team over here. Let's do create from, and then I will start from an Office 365 group. Here I will see all of the Office 365 groups that I am an owner of so that I can add teams to. And really important, it says at the top, this will permanently add teams to your existing Office 365 group. So once it's added, you cannot delete only the teams portion of it. It's a permanent decision. So let me pick Global Mantics Intranet Refresh, and then I will click on Create. It will really not take long because the group already exists, the membership is already set, we already know if it's public or private. It just creates the team for it, and that's it. Took a few seconds, and we're ready to go. The team is created. So it was that easy. Now let's talk about the reminder in SharePoint Online. So here I'm on the page of the Global Mantics Page System Refresh. So in the Documents library, you see here at the bottom, I have that reminder for Microsoft Teams. Communicate with your colleagues in real time by creating a team for your Office 365 group, and then I have the Create a Team button. Remember what I said in the slides? There will be no confirmation, no warning that this is permanent. I clicked the Create a Team button, And that's it. It takes a few seconds and success. Click here to go to your team. It's done. If I go to Microsoft Teams now, it already refreshed in the client application, and I have the Global Mantic Space System refresh theme ready to go, and I can start collaborating inside it. So in this demo, we have really viewed how to add a Microsoft theme to an existing Office 365 resource. So if it's an Office 365 group directly from Teams, we see all of the ones that are eligible, and we have also seen how the reminder looks for group owners inside SharePoint Online and how easy it's for them to create a team from there. But you also need to be careful that it's a permanent action, so once you create that team, you cannot delete it. Now let's go back to the slides and see how we can archive or delete a Microsoft team. Now that we know how to both create a team from an existing Office 365 group as well as creating it from scratch, let's take a look at what we can do once a team has outlived its purpose with archiving and deleting. First of all, deleting. Only team owners can delete a Microsoft team, and it's important to know that deleting a Microsoft team will delete the Office 365 group, so everything we learned in the previous module still applies, so all files, chats, emails will be deleted, but not stream videos as we have seen with the exception in the previous module. You have 30 days to restore the Office 365 group, so really deleting the team is the same thing as deleting the Office 365 group, so same options, same restore, everything that we covered in the basics of Office 365 Groups Administration module still very much applies here. What is specific to Microsoft Teams, and it's really awesome in my opinion, is being able to archive the Microsoft Teams, which also applies to the Office 365 group. Archiving a team can be useful when you want to keep all of the contents of the team for knowledge purposes, for example, a completed project, and when you archive a team, all activity for that team ceases. You can still, however, add or remove members to the team so they can see the content, you can still see the files and the chats. And as part of the archiving, you can make the SharePoint site read-only for team members. This way you can also make sure that members will not change any of the files anymore. Archive teams can be seen directly in Microsoft Teams under the archived, and if needed, team owners can unarchive that team. Now that we have seen the theory, let's go to the lab environment and learn how we can archive a Microsoft team as well as delete a Microsoft team. We are now in the lab environment, so let me open up Microsoft Teams over here, and if we actually go on the three dots, we have the delete team option, but not the archive team option from this user interface. If we want to see all of the options, we can go at the bottom here. We have a settings wheel or a gear, depending on how you want to call it. So I will click on it, and here I will really see all of the teams that I'm an owner and member of, as well as the membership type, so either owner or member. I can then go on a team. Let's take, for example, the Global Mantic Pay refresh over here. And if I go into the options, here I will see the archive team option. So let me click on archive, and here is where I actually get that confirmation. Do I want to make the SharePoint site read only for team members? Now, whether you do it or not, there's no best practice for every single scenario. I usually recommend that when you archive a team, you also freeze the SharePoint site because you kind of want that asset frozen in time, and that includes the SharePoint files. You don't want people to go by accident and rechange files over there. But I also understand it's a case-by-case scenario, and you can really take the decision at the team level. So okay, let me check this box, then click on Archive. It will take a few seconds, and after that you will see that on the same page I will see them under Archive. So as a team owner, I will be able to see all of the Archive teams under the Archive dropdown, and if I want, I can always restore the team. Now let's delete the team. Let me go with the Global Mantics intranet refresh. I will go into the same dropdown and I will click on delete the team. Remember that when you delete the team, you actually delete the Office 365 group. So we get a warning that, are you sure you want to delete the team Global Mantics Intranet Refresh, all channels, chats, files, and the Office 365 group for this team will be deleted? I will put that yes, I understand that everything will be deleted, and then we will delete the team. Again, remember that this will delete the Office 365 group, and for Microsoft Teams, we do not have a deleted Teams view, so the only way to restore it as a team or group owner, which are the same thing of course, is to go through Outlook on the web. This is it for this demo. We have really seen how to archive a Microsoft team, the different options. Well, the option we have if we want to also freeze the SharePoint site for team members, and finally how to delete a Microsoft team. Now let's go back to the slides and learn how to manage Microsoft Teams membership. Now that we know about the basic operations on Microsoft Teams, let's learn how to manage Microsoft Teams membership. Remember that Microsoft Teams uses Office 365 group membership exclusively, meaning that everything we have learned in the previous module applies here, so the assigned and dynamic membership groups, access reviews, and everything, really. You can manage the group and the team therefore membership through Microsoft Teams. Simply go under Team Settings and you'll see the Members option. Owners can add people directly, or members can request to add someone, but an owner must still approve before they are a member. Now that we have seen the theory, let's go to the lab and manage Team and Office 365 group membership through Microsoft Teams. We are now in the lab environment, so let me open up Microsoft Teams over here, and I have restored the Global Mantics A System Refresh team. And in order to manage memberships, we can either add a member directly from here, or go into Manage Team and then the Members tab. From here, I can really see the owners and members of the team, and really remember, like I said in the slides, team membership is Office 365 group membership, so managing it here is just another UI, but there's only one set of membership, and that's the Office 365 group membership. I can add a member, so let me go in here, and let's add, for example, Drew to this team. Let's wait a few seconds, click on close. Now we have added Drew to the group and team. I can promote a member to be an owner. So let's change Drew to become an owner. And I can also demote an owner to go back to a member. So really everything I can do for the Office 365 group, I can also do it through the Microsoft Teams interface. But really remember, there's only one set of membership, which is the Office 365 group, but we can manage it from the Microsoft Teams user interface. This is it for this demo. We have learned a lot about the Office 365 group membership in the previous module, so now let's go back to the slides and learn how to manage channels for a team. Next up, let's talk about managing channels for a team. In Microsoft Teams, team owners are responsible of the different channels inside of the team. Just a small reminder, since we've talked about it at the beginning of the course, there are three types of channels inside Teams. Next up, the general channel, which comes by default with every team. Next up, we have standard channels, which are basically kind of like public channels inside the team, if I may. They're there, and everybody in the team can have access to them. And lastly, we have private channels, which are made for a subset of people inside of the team. Any team owner, and by default settings, any team member can create a channel inside Teams. You simply need to provide a channel name, description, privacy, so standard or private, and if you want to automatically show this channel in everyone's channel list, which is only available for standard channels. On the team settings, you can go into channels management, and that's where you see all of the channel settings. The first option you have is personal, and it's show for me, which you can decide if for you, and that's as a user, you want to see this channel. Next up, we have show for members, which is if you want this channel to be automatically shown to members, but that's the default option. Users could still hide it if they want to, which is if you want this channel to be automatically shown for members, but that's the default option. Users could still change it themselves. You can then set the type, which will either be standard or public, so the standard one has a globe and the private one has a lock, as well as the last activity date, which basically gives you the last time there was action inside that channel. Now let's talk about editing and deleting channels, starting with standard channels. You can really edit and delete any standard channel except the default general one. That one cannot be changed name or deleted. With default permissions, member can edit and delete standard channels as well, but this can be blocked inside of the team's settings, and we will learn how later in this module. If you delete a standard channel, the files are not deleted with the channel. They will remain accessible in SharePoint. Now let's talk about private channels. And we'll dive deeper into private channels later on some permission and other things. But for private channels, team owners can delete every private channel in the team, and the owners of the private channels can delete the private channels they own. Really important when you delete the private channel, the SharePoint site collection for that private channel also gets deleted. So all of the files are deleted for private channels and they can be restored for up to 30 days. Another channel setting is cloud storage. Teams allows external cloud storage as an additional option. So SharePoint will always be there, but at the channel level, you can add a folder from another service such as Dropbox, Box, ShareFile, or Google Drive. And when users upload a file, they get a choice of where to upload them. Teams doesn't manage any of those permissions, so you need to make sure yourself that all of the users in the team have access to that third-party storage resource, and an administrator can actually fully turn off third-party cloud storage options, or even turn off only some of them at the tenant level, and we'll cover that in the Teams Admin Center later in this course. Now that we have seen the theory, let's go to the lab and create a standard channel, a private channel, see how we can edit and delete channels, and finally add a third-party cloud storage option. We are now in the lab environment, so let me open up Microsoft Teams over here, and we're going to add channels inside the IT Systems Refresh team. So in order to add channels, I'll click on the three dots over here, and then one of the options is Add Channel. So I will click on it next to the first one called Milestones. we can add a description. There we go, added a nice description, and then I can choose standard or private. For this one, let's choose standard, and I will say that automatically I want this channel to be shown in everyone's channel list, and let me click on add. It will take a few seconds, then it will get added. Next up, let me add another channel, and we'll call this one as stakeholders. And this one, I will make it of privacy private. So you see the checkbox to show automatically is not even there because by default, it will be shown to all of the members of the channel. So I have added a name, the privacy. When I click next, the channel will be created and it will ask me to decide the membership of the channel. So now it has created the channel, but what it will do now, it will ask me to add members to the private channel, because remember, each private channel has its own membership, which is a subset of the people on the team. So let's say I think I have just Collins in here. Do I have Drew? You see, because Drew is not a member of the team, I cannot add Drew inside the private channel. So really important to remember, people need to be inside of the team before they can be part of the private channel. So let me click on add on just Collins over here. You'll see that again I have the option to make Jeff Collins a member or an owner of the private channel. So we have those roles at the channel level as well. And then I will click on done. If we want to edit channels, we can of course go on the channel and then go on edit this channel. Or another option that we have is to go into manage team, and then in the channels tab over here, I will see all of the channels inside of the team. So I'll see the general, the milestone channel, which have the globe over here, which means they're a standard channel, and then the stakeholder channel, which has a lock, which is a private channel. I can decide for standard channels. Do I want to see it for me or not? So you can see I said that even if by default it's shown to everybody, individual users, including owners, can decide they do not want to see this channel by default, and then it will be inside the hidden channels over here. We can always access them because they're standard channels. They're just not shown in the channel list by default. And from here, I can of course also, let's say, go here, edit this channel, and instead of milestones, let's call it target dates. Click on save, and the channel name will be changed. Really important to know that if you change a channel name, so let me go into target dates here, I will go into files, and I will open it inside of SharePoint. So let me go into the three dots, open in SharePoint over here. You will see that the folder name did not change. So if I go back in documents, I still have general and milestones. So even if you rename a channel inside Teams, the folder in SharePoint will not change. So that can make it a bit confusing for users that prefer to navigate to files through SharePoint. So try not to do too much renaming, as the experience between Teams and SharePoint might be a bit broken. Sometimes you don't have the choice, and that's again understandable, but I just wanted to show you the impact that if you rename the channel in Teams, it does not automatically follow in SharePoint. Now let's talk about third-party cloud storage options. And to show this, I actually just opened Teams inside of an incognito browser, where I actually logged in Dropbox as well. So this way you guys don't have to see the login process, multi-factor authentication in Dropbox. Now let's go into our target dates channel under files. Then we can go and click on add cloud storage. Here we will see all of the options that our admin allowed us to use, and we will cover this later in the course, how to restrict options, because maybe you don't want to even give people the option of adding Dropbox box or Google Drive or share file as a storage option. So you can lock it down, but before we do, let's learn how to use it. I will pick on Dropbox since that's an account I have, and since I have already logged in and given Teams permission to my Dropbox, I can see the same folders as in Dropbox box over here. So I'm in the IT systems refresh. I'll choose this folder and click on add folder. How this will be shown inside the files, I will have a folder with a link over here, IT systems refresh. If I go into target dates, and then inside downloads, I will just drag and drop this file over here. It will ask me, do you want to add it inside SharePoint? So just click upload file or click on IT system refresh, which I can see it's from Dropbox, and I will click on upload file. This will of course take a few seconds. Let's say here are the slides for milestone 5. Press enter. This will kind of show as a normal Office file inside of Teams, but we see it's inside Dropbox, and when I click on it, it will actually use the PowerPoint file viewer, and I will be able to actually see the file directly in Teams. So the integration is awesome in my opinion, and the file got added. If I go into IT system refresh, I see it here. However, remember that the permissions are completely separate. So if we look at this file here, I'm the only member inside this folder. So right now, anybody else who would try to open that file, they don't have access in Dropbox, so they would get an error. So remember that even if the integration is really awesome, you need to manage permissions into two different places when you use a third-party cloud storage. So again, awesome integration. If you choose to use it, make sure that you know that you have the permissions inside the Microsoft team and inside that third-party storage, and we can also turn it off at the tenant level, and we're going to learn how to do it later this course. That is it for this demo, in which we have seen how to create a standard channel, a private channel, how to edit and delete channels, as well as how to add a third-party cloud storage option. Now let's go back to the slides and learn a bit more about private channel permissions. Now that we have seen the basic channel management, let's take a deeper look at private channels, as they're a bit different from a management point of view. First of all, from a limitation point of view, you can have a maximum of 30 private channels per team and a maximum of 250 members per private channel. Remember again, limits change, and always check the most up-to-date list as you're learning Microsoft Teams, as Microsoft will always be pushing the boundaries depending on customer demand. Okay, so now let's do an overview of who can do what with private channels, and those are the default permissions that we will be talking about, and most of them can be configured later. But let's start first of all with creating a private channel. Team owners and team members can create private channels, but team guests cannot. Now for private channel deletion, team owners can delete them, team members and team guests cannot. The owner of the private channel or the owners can delete that private channel, but private channel members and private channel guests cannot delete the private channel. Now for leaving the private channel. Private channel owners, private channel members and guests can all leave the private channel. Now so far I'm sure it's kind of as you expected it to be, but now it will get a bit more interesting. Team owners cannot actually edit private channels unless they are an owner of that channel. So it means that even if you're a team owner and a team member inside your team created a private channel and you're not a member of it, you cannot actually join it or edit it at all. This is because Microsoft takes the concept of privacy serious with private channels. So really, if the owner is not in the channel, they cannot edit. Private channel members and private channel guests cannot edit the private channel either. A team owner can restore a deleted private channel but a team member and a team guest cannot, the private channel owner can also restore a deleted private channel, but not the members or the guests of that private channel. Now for adding members to the private channel, only the private channel owner can do it. So again, even if you're a team owner, you cannot add other people to the private channel or even add yourself to the private channel unless the private channel owner added you in there. Same thing for editing settings and almost the same thing for managing tabs and applications, but by default, private channel members can also manage tabs and applications. I'm sure some of those things are surprising to you. They were at least to me the first time that I saw them. And the big reason is that Microsoft talks about private channels as true privacy, where even the team owner, if not invited, cannot do anything or access anything inside of that private channel. Most of the settings can really be configured afterwards to, for example, only allow team owners to create private channels, therefore making sure they always have access to it, but we will look at those settings after. Now let's talk about private channels and who can see what. First of all, for the name and description of the channel, the team owner can see all of the private channels in the team, but team members can only see the private channels they are added to. Next up, the conversations and tabs. Both team owners and members can only see those if they have been added to the private channel. That is the only way. And it's the exact same thing for files and content. So again, team owners cannot see files that have been added to a private channel unless they are part of the private channel. The team owner can, however, see the owners of each private channel in the team, but members can only see that information if they're part of the private channel. And the same thing for the last activity timestamp. The team owners can see it for all private channels in the team, while team members can only see it for private channels that they're a member of. So, as you saw, private channels kind of have their own membership. They have their own owners, members, and guests, but it's really important to remember that users need to be part of the team already, so it's a subset of the users in the team. You cannot have users only part of the channel but not part of the team. Now that we have learned how to create our teams and our channels, let's learn how to manage Microsoft Teams settings. We'll really cover two types of settings in this part, settings at the team level and settings at the channel level. And let's start with settings that can be applied at the team level. First of all, if you edit the team, you can change the team name, the description, the privacy, which you can choose between private, public, and or wide, as well as the team discovery settings. Now you might wonder, what are the team's discovery settings? Because they do not show up on the screenshot on the right. That is because managing discovery of private teams in Microsoft Teams is actually a preview or early release feature at the time of recording this course in February 2020. So I cannot show it to you, unfortunately, in the demo. However, we'll cover exactly what that setting does, so once it hits your tenant, when you listen to this course, you're going to know exactly what to do. So if we look at discovery and private teams, remember that so far we have talked about public teams, private teams, and org-wide teams. Let's forget org-wide teams for now, and let's focus on public and private. Instead of only having public and private, we can split those into three as well. We can have public teams, discoverable private teams, and non-discoverable private teams. Public teams are available for all of the users in an organization to join. Public teams are visible to everyone in the Teams gallery, which is when you go into Teams, join and create a team, and then you see all of the possible teams that you can do. And users can join a public team without having to get approval from the team owner. Example of public teams can include a team to discuss technology news, get feedback on products, and a team for people to go carpooling to work. We then have discoverable private teams. Discoverable private teams can only be joined when a team owner adds users to them. When you make a private team discoverable, the team is included in the list of suggested teams and search results in the teams gallery. Some good examples of private teams include projects or groups in your organization that everyone is aware of, but where access to conversations and files needs to be controlled. And the last one, non-discoverable private teams. Non-discoverable private teams are hidden from the Teams gallery, so if people search for that project name inside Teams, they're not going to find it. And also, private teams can only be joined if invited by an owner. So really that discovery setting, what it does is that if you set it to discoverable, even as a private team, people will be able to see that it exists inside the team's gallery. People will be able to request to join, but they still won't get access to it by default. Non-discoverable private teams are for those projects you really want to keep low. So for example, let's say you have a reorg coming up. You don't want people to randomly see reorg when they search 2021 inside of Microsoft Teams because they're looking for a project. So more sensitive stuff, manage the discovery, and make sure that people don't see them inside Teams search. Now, where is that setting? There's two places where that setting is. So first of all, and I took this screenshot from Microsoft because it already has the feature there, which has not yet shipped to everybody yet, so I cannot unfortunately show it in the demo. But you will see it at the bottom. Whether you create or edit a private team, you will see the team is searchable and discoverable, and then you can change the setting to make it not discoverable. So that's where you will see the setting, and there's just two choices that you'll be able to choose from. Now let's go into other teams settings. The first option we have is the team picture, which is always the same picture as the Office 365 group. If you change it here, you change it for the whole group. And we also have the team discovery again, which says that if users should be able to see this theme in the search suggestion inside Microsoft Teams. Again, I can't show it to you in the demo in the team settings, but where you will see it is on the team setting page, you will have the team discovery, which is only a checkbox that you'll be able to turn on and off if you want to turn on discoverability. And this again is a screenshot provided by Microsoft. Next up, at the team level, we can also set the member permissions. First option is, do we want to allow members to create and update channels with some options specific to private channels? This can be useful, for example, as we talked about private channel permissions earlier. If you don't want to allow members to create private channels, you can stop them from only creating private channels, but still allow them to create standard ones. You can also choose whether or not to allow members to delete and restore channels, to add and remove apps, or to upload custom apps. You can also decide if members can create, update, and remove tabs and connectors. And lastly, from a messaging perspective, you can decide if members have the option to edit their messages or to delete their messages. So as you can see as an owner, even if the default permissions were a bit lax from what we've seen in the private channel permissions earlier, you can adapt them to your specific needs in Microsoft Teams. We also have permissions specific to guests, and we can decide if guests can create or update channels, as well as if guests are allowed to delete channels or not. Next up, we do have some controls around mentions as well. The first one is if you want to allow members to mention the whole team or not. Remember that mentioning the whole team will send a notification to everybody in the team, so you might want to turn this off in big teams. Next, you also have a setting if you want to allow members to mention a channel or not, which works the same way but more limited as it only notifies people who have decided to have that channel shown in their channel list. We also have what's called fun settings, which I know might be a bit weird to say out loud in a technical course, but that's how they're called. And those are the settings around everything GIFs and memes in Teams. You can first choose if you want to enable Giphy for this theme or not, and if yes, you can also set the content rating between moderated, which are GIFs rated G, and strict, which are GIFs rated Y. Now, I'll be honest with you, those are the default options, but at the Teams level in Teams Admin Center, an admin can actually set that there's no content restrictions for GIFs. And then in Microsoft Teams, you would be allowed to use the whole Giphy library. As much fun as that sounds, there is a lot of inappropriate content on Giphy that I would not recommend in the workplace, so as a general recommendation, stick to the moderate or strict. Those are good enough for the workplace environment. If you want to, for fun, in your own lab, you can go to the Teams Admin Center, enable no content restriction, and then you would have the option here as well, but I would really not recommend you do it in production. Next up, you can also enable or not to have stickers and memes, and finally, if you want to allow custom memes or not. We also have tags, which are actually currently not rolled out at the time of recording this course in February 2020, but you can find them on the Microsoft 365 roadmap with the ID provided in the slides. Again, this is a feature that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show you live in the demo environment because it's still in preview at the time of recording this course, so it cannot be shown publicly. However, I can share with you what tags do, where you can control them from. So again, once you listen to this course and the feature has hit the tenants, you can use it and know how to use it right away. So first of all, what are tags? Tags in Microsoft Teams let users communicate with a subset of people on a team. Tags can be applied to team members to easily connect with the right subset of people. Team owners and members can assign one or more tags to a person, and the tags can then be used in mentions by anyone in the team or in a channel to only notify those people who are assigned that tag. In the team setting, you can decide who can create tags, either owners only or all members. Now let me show you some screenshots so you have an idea of what that setting would look like. Imagine that in your Microsoft Teams right now, let's say we have a team that is for product management. In product management, we probably have product owners, we have stakeholders, and we have QA people. Even if we have a product owners channel, maybe everybody in the team will probably have that shown. So if I mention the channel, I'm not really going to mention the product owners. I would mention everybody that has that channel shown. But with tags, I can create a tag called product owners, or you can see this screenshot is called cashiers in the example I have, and then I can manually decide who are the people inside that product owners tag. And then from any team inside of my channel, I can simply tag product owners, so I know I'm tagging and notifying only a specific subset of people, whatever channel in the team I'm on. So that is the goal of tags, and this is how you're going to see it inside the Microsoft Teams interface. From a settings point of view, at the bottom of the actual settings page, which again, we're not going to be able to see in the demo today, unfortunately, unfortunately, you're going to have a tags category and it's going to ask who can add tags, and your options will be either owners only or all members. So this is what the tag feature will look like from both a user point of view and the settings point of view. Lastly, in team settings, we also have analytics about the team, such as how many users, messages, apps, how many files in SharePoint, as well as how many active and inactive users we have, and how many users do we have in each role between owners and members versus guests. Another part which we're not covering in this course are the applications. So you see even in the screenshot we have applications right in your analytics, but those will be covered in the governance and compliance for teams course on Pluralsight. Now that we have seen the theory, let's go to the lab environment and configure Microsoft Teams settings at the team level. I'm now in the demo environment, so let me open up Microsoft Teams over here. And for the IT system refresh theme, I will click on the three dots and go into Manage Team. In order to manage the team settings, I will go into the Settings tab over here. And here I have multiple sections that I can go into depending on the settings that I want to change. First of all, the team picture, I can add a picture for the team. And remember that the team picture is the same picture as the Office 365 group picture. So if you change it at the group settings or at the team settings, it will override the other one because it's only one setting in the back. I can also go into member permissions, where I have all of the options on what members can do. So I can, for example, let's say if I disable allow members to create and update channels, of course they will not be allowed to create private channels either, but I can allow them to create standard channels and not allow them to create private channels if I want to. I have the allow members to delete and restore channels, allow members to add and remove apps, allow members to upload custom apps, allow members to create, update, and remove tabs, allow members to create, update, and remove connectors, give members the option to delete their messages, and give members the option to edit their messages. When you want to change a setting, it's a simple checkbox. It's saved right away. There is no save button. So just select it and that's it. Next up, let's go on and go to guest permissions, in which I have the option to allow guests to create and update channels, and then allow guests to delete channels if I want to. By default, they're turned off, so depending on your business requirements, you can choose how you want to manage that team. I then have the mentions. So first of all, do I want to show members the option to mention the team name? And remember, this will send a notification to everybody on the team. And most organizations for large teams, they actually disable that and let only owners do it. But again, you have the options. It's up to you depending on your business requirements, whether you turn it on or off. And then we have the same option, but for channel. And for channels, the way notifications work is for everyone who's shown the mention channel in their channel list. So you see right now the target dates channel is hidden for me. So if somebody mentions that channel, I will not get a notification. So it only notifies people who decided to have that channel shown. And again, you have the option to enable or disable members' permissions to do it. Let me go now to the team code. Here you have the team code. So what is the team code? So I can generate a code. So let me just click on generate. I'll just copy it. And what this will allow you to do, let's say you want to invite people to join a team. You can just tell them to go into join or create a team. And then they have the option to join a team with the code. They can paste that code in there and then click on join team. This way, maybe you don't want to invite people in there. You'd rather let people themselves choose if they want to join or not, so you can communicate and say, hey, we now have this team that will discuss about a certain subject. Whoever wants to join, here's the code. You can join from the team's application directly, paste the code in there, and then you can join the team. So this is what the code is used for. It can be useful in some scenarios, especially when you don't want to invite the members to the team manually, but you want to let them choose if they join or not. The last one is the fun stuff, which again, remember, it's kind of fun to talk about fun stuff inside Microsoft Teams, but what those settings are if you want to enable Giphy or not for this theme. If you do, you can choose the rating between strict and moderate. Then do you want to enable stickers and memes? And then do you want to enable custom memes or not? So those are really up to you, the settings that you want to choose, and each theme is different. You can have kind of a base starting layer, and after that, each team owner can actually customize it to their needs. The last thing that I wanted to show you is the analytics. Of course, right now in my team, there's not much activity because it's a demo tenant used to create thorough site courses, and it's kind of lonely in here, but you have an idea of how many users, how many messages, how many different applications are in that team, what is the size of the SharePoint files, how many guests do you have versus internal members, and then more information about the messages. This is it really for the team level settings. Now let's go back to the slides and learn more about channel level settings. Next up, let's review the settings that can be applied at the channel level. We actually have different settings that can be applied to channels depending on the type of channel. So the general channel has different settings options than the standard channel, which has different settings from the private channels. So we're going to cover all of them, but let's start with the general channel settings. First option is the channel moderation preferences, meaning really you can post messages inside this channel and you have three options. Anyone can post messages, anyone can post, but show an alert that posting will notify everybody, which is recommended to turn on for larger teams, and only owners can post messages. Next up, we have settings for email integration. Microsoft Teams enables you to send an email to a channel in Teams, and each channel has their own email address. You can choose whether everyone can send emails to this channel, only members of the team, or only emails sent from a list of domains. Next up, let's talk about standard channel settings. With standard channels, you can decide who can start a new post, and you have three options. Either everyone can start a new post, everyone except guests can start a new post, or you can enable moderation. Now, what is moderation? With channel moderation turned on, you allow only a select group of people or moderators to start new posts. If moderation is enabled, you have access to a few other settings such as allow members to reply to channel messages or not, allow bots to submit channel messages, and allow connectors to submit channel messages. So this really allows you to choose who can create new posts inside that channel without necessarily relying on the owner or member permission roles. You can create your own list of moderators in order to keep the discussion going as intended. Lastly, we also have email integration settings for standard channels, but those are exactly the same as for the general channel. And now let's talk about private channel settings. First of all, we have membership settings for the private channel since, like we said before, they have their own roles inside of the private channel, so you can manage owners and members of that private channel. And we also have member permissions for the private channel. We can decide if we allow all members to create, update, and remove tabs. We can also decide if we give member the options to delete their messages or edit their messages. We also have settings around mentions for the private channel, so if we allow members to mention a private channel or not, which would notify everybody who's part of the private channel. Lastly, fund settings. You can decide if you want to enable Giphy for this channel or not, as well as the ratings, which is G or strict, and you can decide whether you enable sticker and memes for this private channel, as well as if you want to enable custom memes for this private channel. Now that we have seen the theory, let's go to the lab and configure channel settings in Microsoft Teams. We are now in the lab environment, so let me open up Microsoft Teams here and let's take a look at the different channel settings, starting with the general channel. To go into channel settings, we simply click on the three dots by the channel, then we go and click on Manage Channel. For the general channel, the permissions that I have are, do I want to let anyone post messages? Do I want to let anyone post messages, but when people post in there, there will be a notification that it will notify everyone. If I just go in Teams right now and I start typing a message, you will see right away this small notification that, hey, 3 people will see your message. Of course, 3 people is not a lot, so it doesn't really discourage me from actually sharing. But if this number was high, let's say 500 people, it will maybe make me think of posting into another channel that's more specialized towards my topic, instead of putting it in the general default channel that everybody can see. Now if I go back to the other setting, let me go to Manage Channel, I have only owners can post messages, which would make it that only team owners can post and team members couldn't. Next up, let's take a look at the settings for a standard channel. So I'll go to Manage this channel again, and here, first of all, I can turn on or off channel moderation. If I turn it on, I will be able to manage moderators. So for example, I have Jeff here that I can add to be a moderator on top of team owner. So this is the really cool thing with moderation inside of standard channel, is that even if a user is a member inside of the team, they can be the moderator of a standard channel. So you don't give them any extra permissions outside of that channel, but you allow them to moderate specific channels. By default, only moderators will be able to actually start a new post, and I can choose if I want to allow members to reply to messages, if I want to allow bots and connectors to submit channel messages. If I do not use moderation, so if I turn it off, I have the option if I want to allow everyone to start a new post or everyone except guests to start a new post. So if you don't want to go and enable moderation, you still have those 2 options. Next up, let's go to the private channel settings. Also the private channels, manage channel, and here is where we have the most settings, because the private channel, as we have talked before, has their own membership. So I can add members to this channel, I can promote them to become an owner of this private channel, and I can also go into more settings here where I have the most options. So first of all, member permissions. Do I want to allow members to create, update, and remove tabs? Give members the option to delete their messages. Give members the options to edit their messages. I can also decide for mentions. Do I want members to be allowed to actually mention this channel name or not? And for the fun stuff, if I wanted, I could, for example, disable Giphy for this channel and disable all of the different fun settings for this channel, and that can be at the channel level. So as you can see, private channel, a lot more settings because it's like controlling a subset of the team, and as a private channel owner, you can really decide what's allowed and what's not allowed in your own private channel. This is it for this demo. We have seen how to manage settings for the general channel, for standard channels, as well as for private channels. This is also the last demo of this module, so let's go back in the slides and finish off the module. Before finishing up this module, let's review what we have learned. We have first looked at the basic Microsoft Teams operations, so the different types of teams, and how to add a team to an existing resource, and how to archive and delete Microsoft Teams. We have then looked at the Microsoft Teams membership, which are the same as the Office 365 group ones, but you can manage membership through Microsoft Teams. Next up, we learn how to manage channels for a team, including general, standard, and private channels, and we have looked at all of the permissions and options. And lastly, we have looked at the Microsoft Teams settings, which includes both settings at the team level as well as at the channel level. This is it for this module, in which we have covered all of the settings you can do as a team owner through the UI without even going in the admin interface. In the next two modules, it's time to really go in those admin centers and PowerShell commandlets and learn how to manage Office 365 groups and Microsoft Teams from the admin centers and PowerShell. Thank you very much for listening to this module, and I hope you found it informative.